Commander Jack Reynolds had experienced many firsts in his career with the Earth Diplomatic Corps. First human to shake hands with a Martian colonist without causing an interplanetary incident. First to successfully pronounce the 17-syllable greeting of the methane-breathing Jovians. But today marked his most important first, becoming the first human captain to dock at Nexus Station, the heart of the Galactic Council. Status report, Jack said, straightening his meticulously pressed uniform as the view screen displayed the massive space station. The structure resembled a glittering snowflake made of impossibly thin crystalline materials, with ships of various impossible geometries docking at its many arms. Lieutenant Tess Rodriguez tapped her console. All systems nominal, Captain. Station Control has assigned us Docking Bay 42 Theta 9. They've also transmitted approximately 9,000 pages of welcoming protocols. 9,000? Jack raised an eyebrow. Give or take a few hundred. Tess shrugged. Most of it seems to be about not touching things, not making eye contact with various species, and very specific instructions about when we're allowed to breathe. Jack sighed. Summarize the important bits for the crew. Last thing we need is to cause an incident before we even get our foot in the door. Our foot, sir? Lieutenant Commander Mac Garcia looked up from his engineering console, grinning. According to page 4392, displaying bare appendages is considered an act of war by the Glesian hegemony. Figure of speech. Mac. Jack pinched the bridge of his nose. This is why we've spent 6 months in diplomatic training. The reasonable discussion isn't just our ship's name, it's our mission statement. The sleek diplomatic vessel glided toward its assigned bay, the words, EDV, reasonable discussion emblazoned on its hull in 6 different galactic standard languages. It was humanity's pride and joy, a marvel of human engineering enhanced by the technological scraps tossed their way by more advanced species who viewed Earth as the galactic equivalent of a precocious child. Captain, the ship's AI Lissa, logical interactive sentient assistant, chimed in. I've detected 17 different scanning beams analyzing our hull. 3 of them appear to be weapons grade. Standard procedure. Jack waved it off. We're the new kids on the block. They're just being cautious. If by cautious you mean one wrong move from blasting us into atoms, then yes. Very cautious, Mac muttered. The ship settled into the docking clamps with a gentle thud. Jack stood, tugging his jacket straight. Remember everyone, we represent all of humanity here. Be polite, be respectful, and follow protocol to the letter. Absolutely no mentions of how squishy anyone looks, added Communications Officer Dina Park from her station, not looking up from her translation matrix. And no asking if anything is edible. Jack nodded firmly. That was one time, protested Mac. You asked if an ambassador's ceremonial headpiece was some kind of space shrimp, Dina reminded him. It had antennae and was pink. What was I supposed to think? The airlock chimed, indicating the docking procedure was complete. Jack took a deep breath. All right, first contact team with me. Everyone else, stay on standby. The welcoming committee awaiting them wasn't exactly welcoming. 3 tall willowy aliens with iridescent purple skin stood rigidly at attention. They had 4 arms each, all clasped behind their backs, and their faces were dominated by 3 large eyes arranged in a triangle. Their mouths, at least, Jack assumed they were mouths, were small and perfectly circular. Greetings, Veldurian representatives, Jack said, performing the careful bow they'd practiced. 30 degrees, no more, no less. I am Commander Jack Reynolds of Earth. We come in peace and friendship. The central Veldurian stepped forward, its movements fluid like water. Human vessel, it intoned in a voice that sounded like wind chimes. You have been granted temporary docking privileges, pending review of your species' application for observer status. Jack maintained his diplomatic smile. We're grateful for the opportunity. You will refrain from expressing gratitude until the proper forms have been processed, interrupted the Veldurian sharply. Section 47B, of the Welcoming Protocols, clearly states that premature gratitude is considered presumptuous, and therefore offensive. Jack's smile faltered slightly. He'd read the protocols, all 9,000 pages, but must have missed that particular section. I apologize for the oversight. The Veldurian's eyes narrowed simultaneously. Apologies must be submitted in triplicate to the Department of Interspecies Reconciliation. Verbal apologies have no standing. Mac, standing behind Jack, exhaled slowly through his nose. Jack could practically feel his engineer's rising blood pressure. Of course, Jack nodded. We'll submit the proper documentation immediately. Your submission will be processed within 10 to 15 standard cycles, the Veldurian said. Its tone suggesting that was lightning fast by bureaucratic standards. And how long is a standard cycle? Dina whispered. Approximately 3 Earth months, the Veldurian replied. its hearing apparently much better than they'd anticipated. 9 months to process an apology. Mac's voice rose slightly. Jack shot him a warning glance. We understand and respect your processes. The lead Veldurian made a gesture that somehow managed to look dismissive with its 4 arms. You will now be escorted to quarantine and processing. Please maintain a distance of no less than 3 units from any non-human entity. As they were led through the gleaming corridors of Nexus Station, Jack couldn't help but notice how other alien species gave them a wide berth. Some even changed direction entirely upon seeing them. Is it just me? Mac whispered. Or are we getting the galactic cold shoulder? We're newcomers, Jack replied quietly. It's to be expected. A small creature scuttled up beside them, keeping perfect pace despite having 6 spindly legs. It resembled a cross between a praying mantis and a tabby cat, with large compound eyes that glittered with intelligence. Greetings, humans, it chittered, mandibles clicking. I am Clixie, Junior Diplomatic Liaison assigned to Primitive Emerging Species. I've been assigned to facilitate your integration. Thank you, Clixie, Jack said, carefully avoiding expressing gratitude directly to a Veldurian this time. You're causing quite the stir, Clixie continued, antennae twitching. Most species expected you to violate at least 27 major protocols within the first hour. You're currently at only 3. Most impressive. 3? Jack frowned. What were the other 2? Your ship's propulsion system emits 0.003% more gamma radiation than permitted for a diplomatic vessel, and one of your crew members is thinking disrespectful thoughts about the Veldurian ceremonial attire. Jack turned to glare at Mac, who shrugged defensively. I didn't say anything. Thought crime is still crime, Clixie chittered, almost sounding amused. But don't worry, humans. The Veldurians may be officious pains in the thorax, but they're harmless. It's the others you need to worry about. Others? Jack asked. Oh yes, Clixie's compound eyes gleamed. The ones who know what humans are capable of when they get annoyed. What do you mean, what humans are capable of? Jack asked Clixie, as they were escorted into a stark white room labeled Primitive Species Processing. Clixie's antennae twitched in what might have been the insectoid equivalent of a smirk. Oh, just stories. Legends, really. About what happens when humans get past politeness. We're quite good at politeness, Jack insisted, maintaining his diplomatic smile despite the uncomfortable scanning beam currently passing over his body. Yes, that's what makes you so terrifying, Clixie replied cheerfully. Before Jack could ask for clarification, the scanning beam turned bright red and an alarm blared. Contraband detected, announced a robotic voice. Category 7 violation. The Veldurian officials bristled, all 12 of their arms tensing at once. What contraband? Jack asked, genuinely confused. A panel slid open, and a mechanical arm extracted a small paper packet from Mac's pocket. It held it up accusingly. Hot sauce, Mac said incredulously. That's the contraband. Capsaicin is classified as a biological weapon in 17 jurisdictions, the lead Veldurian stated coldly. Possession carries a minimum sentence of 40 cycles in isolation. It's a condiment, Dina explained quickly. For food, humans consume it regularly. The Veldurians exchanged looks of horror. You willingly ingest inflammatory compounds for pleasure? One asked, voice trembling slightly. Jack seized the opportunity for cultural exchange. Yes, many humans enjoy spicy food. It's a cultural preference, not a weapon. An uncomfortable silence fell over the room before Clixie broke it with a chittering laugh. And this is why the Hasnar respect you. Only humans would evolve to enjoy pain. As if summoned by their name, the door slid open to reveal 3 massive reptilian aliens. Each stood nearly 8 feet tall, with scaled skin, prominent ridges along their skulls, and battle scars crisscrossing their visible hide. They wore minimal armor that seemed more ceremonial than functional. A species confident in their natural defenses. Hasnar delegation, Clixie whispered. The galaxy's premier warriors. Jack braced himself for more diplomatic complications, but to his surprise, the lead Hasnar stepped forward and placed a clawed fist against its chest in what appeared to be a salute. Humans, it rumbled in a deep voice that seemed to vibrate the floor. We have waited long to meet the endurance predators of Earth. Endurance, predators, Dina whispered. The only species that hunts by exhausting prey. The Hasnar continued, yellow eyes gleaming with what looked like respect. That chases until hearts burst and legs fail. That sweats to cool itself and continues running when others would collapse. You've done your research, Jack said, returning the chest salute. The Hasnar bared its teeth, possibly a smile, possibly a threat. We study all potential adversaries. We come as friends. Jack clarified quickly. So you say now, the Hasnar replied cryptically. The lead Veldurian cleared its throat. At least Jack assumed that's what the high-pitched warble was. The humans have violated protocol and must be processed accordingly. The Hasnar commander turned its massive head toward the Veldurian with deliberate slowness. The humans will join us for the welcoming ceremony first. Paperwork later. That violates 17 different. The Veldurian began. I insist, the Hasnar said simply. One clawed hand resting on what was unmistakably a weapon. The Veldurian deflated visibly. As the Hasnar wish. But this incident will be noted. As they followed the imposing Hasnar delegation through the corridors, Jack whispered to Clixie, why did they intervene on our behalf? The Hasnar respect strength, Clixie explained. And patience before action. They believe these qualities make a worthy opponent. We're not looking for opponents, Jack noted. No one ever is, Clixie replied. Until they're actually annoyed. The grand meeting hall of Nexus Station was a marvel of alien architecture. A vast dome with an actual atmosphere inside, complete with artificial sky and strange plants. Representatives from dozens of species gathered in clusters, their varied biology, a testament to the diversity of life in the galaxy. Ambassador Gornthal of the Veldurians stood on a raised platform, all four arms raised for attention. Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, we gather to acknowledge the arrival of humanity's first diplomatic mission. The announcement was met with polite clicks, whistles, and electromagnetic pulses that Jack's translator rendered as mild applause. In accordance with tradition, continued Gornthal, voice dripping with bureaucratic precision, humans will be granted probationary observation status pending review of their application and behavior. Jack stepped forward as practiced. On behalf of Earth, we thank you for. The humans have already violated protocol 3 times, Gornthal interrupted, including possession of biological weapons. As such, they will be placed under special observation. A murmur ran through the assembled aliens. Jack felt his carefully maintained diplomatic smile starting to crack. Perhaps, the Hasnar commander rumbled from behind him. The humans were not properly informed of all 9,000 protocols. Ignorance is no excuse, Gornthal sniffed. Neither is being an officious prick, Mac muttered under his breath. Jack silenced him with a look, but noticed several nearby aliens taking subtle steps backward, their sensory organs, whatever passed for ears, clearly more sensitive than anticipated. We accept any reasonable restrictions, Jack said carefully, and look forward to learning from the Council's wisdom. Gornthal's 3 eyes narrowed simultaneously. The human delegation is hereby restricted to quarters except when escorted. Their vessel will be impounded for inspection. This meeting is adjourned. As the aliens dispersed, Jack maintained his composed expression. Only the slight tightening of his jaw betrayed his growing frustration. Well, Clixie chittered beside him, could have been worse. Last new species got quarantined for 3 cycles for breathing too loudly. Is it always like this? Dina asked. Oh no. Clixie's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. Usually it's much worse. The Veldurians are actually being quite accommodating. I think they're afraid of making you know. What? Clixie's compound eyes gleamed. Actually annoyed. 3 days into their diplomatic mission, and the human crew had learned exactly 2 things. 1. The Galactic Council made Earth bureaucracy look like a fast food drive-thru. And 2. They were definitely not trusted. Another day, another denial. Jack sighed, tossing the tablet onto the conference table in their designated quarters. Apparently our request to actually meet with council representatives has been filed for future consideration, which means never, Dina translated, not looking up from her own tablet where she was studying alien cultural norms. Mac paced the room like a caged tiger. This is ridiculous, Jack. We've been stuck in these quarters for 3 days. The only alien we've talked to is Clixie, who to be fair is quite informative, Jack pointed out. And suspiciously friendly, Dina added. I can't help but think we're missing something important about how the other species perceive us. The door chimed, then slid open to reveal Clixie, scuttling in with several official-looking documents clutched in multiple appendages. Good news, humans. Your application to visit the station's arboretum has been tentatively pre-approved pending final authorization from only 7 different departments. Spectacular, Mac muttered. Jack shot him a warning look before turning to Clixie. Thank you for your help. We appreciate your efforts to make our stay more comfortable. Oh, it's fascinating for me, Clixie chittered. Most junior diplomats don't get assigned to potentially dangerous species. Dina's head snapped up. Dangerous. Us? Figure of speech. Clixie backpedaled quickly. I meant unpredictable. That's not better. Mac noted. The door chimed again. This time Ambassador Gornthal glided in, flanked by 2 Veldurian security officers. All 12 of their arms were in what Jack had come to recognize as official business position. Commander Reynolds, Gornthal announced, the Council has reviewed your presence and has concerns. Jack straightened his uniform. We've followed every restriction imposed on us, Ambassador. Indeed, that's part of the problem. Gornthal's 3 eyes blinked in unsettling sequence. Your compliance is suspiciously perfect. Mac threw his hands up. You're suspicious because we're following the rules. Mac, Jack warned quietly. No species adapts to restrictions with such patience, Gornthal continued, pronouncing the word like it was distasteful. The Council has therefore decided to place you under enhanced observation. What does that mean exactly? Jack asked. Your ship will undergo a comprehensive inspection. Your crew will submit to psychological profiling, and you will be restricted to these quarters until further notice. Jack felt his diplomatic smile becoming more forced by the second. Ambassador, with all due respect, we came here to establish peaceful relations, not to be treated as prisoners. You misunderstand, Commander. These measures are for the safety of the station. Our safety. No, Gornthal's tone dropped several octaves. Everyone else's. After the Veldurians departed, Mac exploded. This is insane. They're treating us like we're about to go on a rampage. There must be a reason, Dina mused. Clixie, what aren't you telling us? The insectoid alien's antennae drooped slightly. It's just, there are stories about what happens when humans reach their patience threshold. Patience threshold, Jack repeated. Yes, most species have obvious signs of aggression. Raised spines, color changes, scent markers. But humans, Clixie shuddered dramatically. Humans just get quiet, then polite, then very polite, until suddenly they're not. That's what this is about. Mac laughed incredulously. They think we're going to snap. The Hasnar have a saying, Clixie continued. When a human says they're getting annoyed, prepare for battle. When they say they're actually annoyed, run. Before Jack could respond, the ship's AI Lisa, connected through his personal communicator. Captain, unauthorized personnel are attempting to access the ship's core systems. Jack's expression hardened. Ambassador Gornthal assured me the inspection would be non-invasive. These aren't Veldurian signatures, Lisa reported. Unknown origin. Sabotage, Dina suggested. Jack's jaw tightened. Clixie, we need to speak with Ambassador Gornthal immediately. I'll try, Clixie said, suddenly nervous. But the paperwork for an emergency meeting. Now, Jack said quietly. Clixie froze, all 6 legs suddenly still. Oh my, you're doing it. Doing what? The human thing. The calm before the storm. 3 hours later, after being stonewalled by 6 different departments and told that their concerns would be processed in due time, Jack stood before Ambassador Gornthal in the Council's small adjudication chamber. The Hasnar commander loomed in the background, watching with unnerving intensity. Someone is attempting to compromise our ship, Jack stated flatly. We demand an investigation. Your demands have no standing, Gornthal replied dismissively. Furthermore, making demands violates Protocol 472b. With respect, Ambassador, when the safety of my crew is at stake, protocol becomes secondary. The room temperature seemed to drop several degrees. The Hasnar commander straightened, suddenly alert. Are you threatening non-compliance, Commander? Gornthal asked, a note of alarm in its harmonious voice. I'm stating a fact, Jack replied, his voice now deadly calm. My patience with this situation is reaching its limit. Several smaller alien species near the edges of the room began edging toward the exits. Is this human angry? One whispered audibly to another. Worse, the other replied. He's getting annoyed. The Hasnar commander stepped forward. Ambassador, perhaps we should investigate the human's claim. Out of the question, Gornthal snapped. The proper procedures must be. Jack's communicator beeped. Captain, Lisa's voice came through. Ship systems are being systematically disabled. Life support will fail in approximately 20 minutes. The room fell silent as everyone heard the message. Jack looked directly at Gornthal, his voice dropping to a register that made even the Hasnar tense. Ambassador, he said quietly. Now I'm actually getting annoyed. The words hung in the air like a physical threat. Now I'm actually getting annoyed. What happened next was nothing short of extraordinary. The small aliens present in the chamber emitted high-pitched screams and bolted for the exits, trampling each other in their panic. 3 Veldurian officials fainted on the spot, their willowy bodies crumpling like wet paper. Even Ambassador Gornthal took 3 steps backward, all 4 arms raised defensively. Only the Hasnar commander stood firm, though its scaled hand now rested openly on its weapon. Situation critical, the commander rumbled, addressing Gornthal. Implement emergency protocols. This is merely a human intimidation tactic, Gornthal insisted, though its voice had risen several octaves. They cannot possibly. Jack's communicator beeped again. Captain, Lisa reported. Unknown hostiles have breached the ship's airlock. Security measures are engaged, but failing. My crew is on that ship, Jack said, his voice dangerously level. Ambassador, I need security personnel dispatched immediately. That would require multiple authorizations. Gornthal began. Jack turned to the Hasnar commander. My people are in danger. Will you help? The massive reptilian's eyes narrowed, then it nodded once. Hasnar do not fear the human rage. We respect it. Into its own communicator, it barked, Warrior Squad to Docking Bay 42 Theta 9, battle readiness. This is a violation of Council authority, Gornthal protested. File a complaint, the Hasnar commander growled, already moving toward the exit with Jack. Alarms began blaring throughout the station. Over the public address system, an automated voice announced, Attention all personnel, human agitation level red. This is not a drill, proceed to designated shelter areas. Is this because of me? Jack asked Clixie, who was scuttling alongside them, somehow keeping pace despite the chaos. The human anger protocol has never actually been activated before, Clixie chittered excitedly. It's been theoretical until now. It's not anger, Jack clarified as they sprinted through corridors that were rapidly emptying of alien life forms. It's determination. Same thing to most species, Clixie replied. The distinction between human anger and human determination is the subject of 17 different xenopsychology dissertations. They reached the docking bay to find a squad of Hasnar warriors already engaged with a group of shadowy figures attempting to board the reasonable discussion. Plasma fire illuminated the bay in strobing flashes. Who are they? Jack demanded. Scavengers, the Hasnar commander snarled. They prey on new species, stealing technology before protective treaties are established. Jack's expression hardened further. Lisa, status report. 6 crew members trapped in engineering, the AI responded. Life support failing, fire suppression systems compromised. I need to get aboard, Jack said. Too dangerous, the Hasnar commander stated. My warriors will, those are my people, Jack interrupted. The quietness of his voice somehow more impactful than a shout. And that's my ship. Something in his tone made even the battle-hardened Hasnar pause. Very well, it rumbled. We will provide cover. What followed would later become legendary in Galactic Council records. Jack Reynolds, armed with nothing but a standard-issue stun pistol, moved with such focused precision that the Hasnar warriors later requested combat footage for their training academies. He didn't waste movement. He didn't shout battle cries. He didn't display aggression. He simply proceeded through obstacles, whether mechanical barriers or armed opponents, with the unstoppable momentum of a natural force. Fascinating, Clixie commented from the relative safety of a cargo container. Note the lack of berserker rage typically associated with combat species. The human simply processes problems and removes them. When Jack reached engineering, he found Mac and 4 crew members barricaded behind emergency barriers. The 6th crew member lay wounded but stable. Took you long enough. Mac grinned despite the sweat pouring down his face. We were about to get really annoyed ourselves. Status? Jack asked, kneeling to check the injured crewman. We've got 5 hostiles trapped in the auxiliary control room. Mac reported. They were trying to download our navigational data when we surprised them. Interesting, Jack mused. Not sabotage but theft. Doesn't make much difference from where I'm standing, Mac replied. The ship shuddered as another explosion rocked the hull. Lisa, how many hostiles remaining on board? Jack asked. Sensors detect 3 in auxiliary control, 2 attempting to breach the bridge. Jack nodded to Mac. You handle engineering, I'm going to the bridge. Jack. Mac called as he was leaving. Try not to get more annoyed. I think the station might evacuate entirely. Jack's lips twitched in the ghost of a smile. No promises. When he reached the bridge, he found the 2 intruders already subdued, not by human crew, but by the Hasnar commander itself. Your bridge is secure, Commander Reynolds, the massive reptilian said, restraining a struggling figure in dark armor. Your enemies lacked conviction. Thank you, Jack said sincerely. The Hasnar commander inclined its head. The Galactic Council underestimates humans. We do not make this mistake. As the situation stabilized and security teams finally arrived, led by a flustered Gornthal, Jack allowed himself to relax slightly. The immediate danger had passed. Ambassador, he said, his voice returning to its diplomatic tone. I believe we need to discuss security protocols for visiting delegations. Gornthal's 3 eyes blinked rapidly. Yes, of course. Once the proper forms are, now, Jack said simply. The single word caused Gornthal to freeze mid-sentence. Is the human still annoyed? The ambassador whispered to Clixie. Hard to tell, Clixie chittered back. That's what makes them so dangerous. They can go from annoyed to polite and back again, without visual indicators. As they escorted the captured intruders off the ship, Jack noticed something strange. The corridors of Nexus Station, previously bustling with alien life, were completely deserted. Where is everyone? He asked. In designated human raid shelters, Clixie explained. Standard protocol when a human declares themselves actually annoyed. The evacuation was quite orderly, all things considered. This happens often enough to have a protocol, Jack asked, bemused. Oh no, Clixie's antennae twitched excitedly. You're the first to trigger it. The protocol was theoretical, based on historical data. What historical data? The Hasnar commander walking beside them, rumbled. The Battle of Thermopylae. The charge of the Light Brigade. You're Apollo 13. Small groups of humans facing impossible odds, becoming annoyed. Jack stared at the reptilian warrior. You've studied our history. All potential adversaries. The Hasnar nodded. Though perhaps after today. Allies. As they reached the council's emergency chamber, Jack couldn't help but notice how the assembled alien representatives shrank back slightly as he entered. Even species he hadn't encountered before seemed to recognize him, whispered warnings passing through translator devices. There he is, the annoyed one. Does he look calm to you? That's how they get you. Calm then bam. The emergency council session was a masterclass in controlled chaos. Representatives from 17 species crowded the chamber, maintaining what they considered a safe distance from the human delegation, approximately twice as far as protocol required. This is unprecedented. A gelatinous alien sputtered through its translator. A level-read human emotional event and the station is still intact. The historical simulations suggested at least partial structural damage, agreed another representative, this one resembling an ambulatory crystal formation. Jack exchanged glances with Mac and Dina. May I ask what exactly you expected to happen when I became annoyed? The council members shifted uncomfortably. Finally, a small round alien, with dozens of eye stalks floated forward. According to the Compendium of Hazardous Species Behaviors, when a human declares themselves actually annoyed, it precedes a state known as taking matters into their own hands. The alien explained, eye stalks quivering nervously. That sounds accurate, actually, Mac muttered. The compendium lists 14 documented cases where small groups of humans, when reaching this threshold, accomplished statistically impossible feats, continued the floating alien, often with significant collateral damage. Clixie scuttled forward, antenna twitching excitedly. May I present the relevant data, council members? A holographic display activated in the center of the chamber, showing various moments from human history. Jack recognized some immediately. That's the Berlin airlift, he said, pointing to one image. And there's the International Space Station construction. Correct, Clixie chittered. Instances where humans facing logistical impossibilities simply refused to accept them. That's not anger, Dina protested. That's determination. The distinction is academic to non-humans, Clixie explained. Your species' emotional responses don't include external warning signs. You don't change color, extend spines, or emit warning pheromones. You just quietly decide to do the impossible, usually after saying something like, I've had enough of this nonsense. The Hasnar commander rumbled from the back of the room. This is ridiculous, added Gornthal. Hold my beer, offered a tiny mousy alien that Jack hadn't noticed before. Jack couldn't help but laugh. Those are just expressions. Followed by action, the Hasnar commander pointed out. Always followed by action. The holographic display shifted to show a human mountaineer continuing to climb, despite severe conditions, then a human sailor navigating through a storm, then humans forming a chain to rescue someone from a burning building. The legend of human anger is one of our oldest xenobiological theories, Clixie explained. When faced with what they perceive as injustice or obstacles threatening their group, humans enter a state of focused determination that overrides logical limitations. And physical ones, added the crystalline alien. Your bodies should not be capable of some of the feats you accomplish when annoyed. Adrenaline, Dina offered. More than that, Clixie insisted. It's a behavioral pattern unique to your species. While most sentient life evolved to conserve energy and avoid risks, humans evolved to get annoyed, and then do the impossible anyway. Jack studied the display, seeing human history through alien eyes for the first time. What looked to him like normal human persistence and problem-solving appeared to the gathered aliens as something almost supernatural. The evacuation was triggered because the station AI calculated a 74% probability that Commander Reynolds would attempt to override our security systems, reprogram our interfaces, or physically dismantle barriers if his crew remained in danger. Gornthal admitted reluctantly. Would you have? The gelatinous alien asked nervously. Jack shared a look with Mac, who shrugged. If necessary, Jack acknowledged. A frightened murmur rippled through the chamber. But not out of anger, Jack clarified. Out of responsibility. Is there a difference? Asked the floating eyestalk alien. Yes, Jack said firmly. Anger is emotional. Responsibility is ethical, yet the results are the same, the Hasnar commander observed. Action, despite odds. Persistence, despite pain. Victory, despite probability. An elderly alien with pale blue skin and wispy white hair rising like smoke from its head, approached Jack slowly. According to Jack's briefing materials, this was a Centaurian, one of the oldest spacefaring species. I was present, the Centaurian whispered in a voice like rustling leaves, when the first human explorers reached Proxima Centauri. Their ship was failing, their supplies were depleted. By all logical calculation, they should have abandoned their mission and returned to Earth. The Proxima expedition, Dina breathed. The first successful interstellar mission, the Centaurian nodded. When informed of their dwindling oxygen and the astronomical odds against success, their commander simply said, I didn't come all this way to turn back now. Jack finished the famous quote. Yes, the Centaurian's eyes clouded with memory. And then they did what our simulations said was impossible. They reconfigured their life support systems using methods our engineers had never considered. When we finally made contact, they were surviving on recycled air that should have become toxic days earlier. Humans operate on a principle our xenopsychologists call spite-based problem-solving, Clixie added eagerly. When told something cannot be done, they become more determined to do it. It's not spite, Mac protested. It's just creativity under pressure. The emergency evacuation protocols were created after studying human historical records, Gornthal admitted. Your world wars, your space race, your disaster responses, all instances where humans, when sufficiently motivated by what you call getting actually annoyed, accomplished the statistically impossible. Jack took a moment to process this information, the realization that the entire station had emptied because they genuinely believed a single irritated human might somehow tear apart the fabric of their carefully ordered society. So let me get this straight, he said finally. You've been stonewalling our diplomatic mission because you're afraid of making us annoyed. The council members exchanged uncomfortable glances. Yes, Gornthal admitted. The probability models suggested a 43% reduced chance of human aggression if proper frustration levels were maintained without reaching the critical threshold. You were deliberately annoying us to prevent us from getting too annoyed, Dina asked incredulously. It seems counterintuitive, Clixie acknowledged, but the models suggested small controlled frustrations would prevent the accumulation of the deeper annoyance that triggers the human problem-solving response. Mac burst out laughing. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And yet, the Hasnar commander rumbled, gesturing toward the displays still showing humans accomplishing apparently impossible feats. The evidence supports the theory. Jack looked around the room at the assembled aliens, some fearful, some curious, all watching him with the kind of attention usually reserved for an unexploded bomb. I think, he said carefully, we need to start over. With better understanding on both sides, the Centaurian elder stepped forward again. Perhaps we have been in error treating human persistence as a threat rather than an asset to the Council. An interesting perspective, Gornthal conceded. Though the required forms to reclassify a species threat assessment would take at least, Ambassador, Jack interrupted quietly. Gornthal immediately fell silent, all three eyes widening in alarm. I believe, Jack continued in the same soft tone that had now become unintentionally threatening, that exceptional circumstances might call for expedited procedures. Yes, of course, Gornthal agreed hastily. I'll authorize them immediately. As the emergency session disbanded, Clixie remained behind with the human delegation. You realize what you've done, don't you? The insectoid asked, mandibles clicking in what Jack now recognized as amusement. Cleared up a cultural misunderstanding, Jack suggested. Established the most effective diplomatic leverage in council history. Clixie corrected. I predict a 94% approval rate for all reasonable human requests going forward, based solely on the possibility that denial might make you actually annoyed. Mac grinned broadly. So all we have to do is stay polite, and occasionally look like we're losing patience. Precisely, Clixie chittered. Though I would advise using this power responsibly. The legend of human anger now has empirical evidence. As they walked back to their quarters, no longer restricted, they passed aliens who moved respectfully aside, some even offering small gestures that the translator rendered as expressions of admiration. I feel like we're being mythologized in real time, Dina observed. Could be worse. Mac shrugged. At least they're not calling us space orcs or something equally ridiculous. Actually, Clixie interjected. The Veldurian classification for humans translates roughly to polite berserkers. Jack laughed. I think I prefer diplomatic partners. That too, Clixie agreed. Though I should warn you, several species are already developing protocols for what to do if a human ever says they're getting really annoyed. Now, and what would that be? Jack asked. Immediate unconditional surrender, Clixie replied without hesitation. 1 week after the human anger incident, as it was now being called in official council records, the diplomatic landscape had transformed dramatically. The human delegation had been upgraded from potentially hazardous observation status to priority diplomatic partners, in what Clixie assured them was record time. Usually takes at least 3 cycles to change classification, the insectoid explained as they walked through the now accessible public areas of Nexus Station. You did it in 7 days. Amazing what can happen when people communicate clearly, Jack observed, nodding politely to a group of Veldurians who hurriedly nodded back. And when those people are believed capable of impossible feats when irritated, Mac added with a grin. They entered the Grand Council chamber, where representatives from all member species had gathered for the formal integration ceremony. Jack couldn't help but notice the subtle design changes made to accommodate humans, the temperature adjusted to Earth normal, the lighting softened to human comfortable levels, and most tellingly, the complete absence of unnecessary paperwork. Ambassador Gornthal, who had undergone what appeared to be a personality transplant since the incident, glided forward to greet them. Commander Reynolds, your punctuality is appreciated but not required. We would have gladly waited several units if necessary. Thank you, Ambassador, Jack replied, maintaining his diplomatic smile. We're honored to be here. The honor is mutual, Gornthal said, all 3 eyes blinking in synchronized deference. The Council has prepared the integration ceremony, according to human preferences, brief, substantive, and with minimal procedural delays. Mac leaned close to Dina. I could get used to this. Don't, she whispered back. We're supposed to be establishing normal diplomatic relations, not leveraging their weird fear of human annoyance. Can't we do both? Mac suggested innocently. The ceremony itself was refreshingly straightforward. The Centaurian Elder presented Earth with formal recognition as a Galactic Council associate member, with a clear path to full membership within a single cycle rather than the standard 20. In recognition of humanity's unique problem-solving capabilities, the Elder announced. The Council has also approved humanity for immediate inclusion in the Interspecies Crisis Response Initiative. Jack accepted the ceremonial data crystal representing Earth's new status. We're honored to contribute to galactic stability and cooperation, especially during crises that might otherwise be annoying. The Hasnar commander added from its place of honor, drawing nervous laughter from the assembled aliens. Later at the reception, another unprecedented gesture for new associate members. Jack found himself in conversation with representatives from species that had previously avoided the human delegation entirely. Is it true, asked a gaseous entity contained within a floating sphere, that humans deliberately seek out challenges for recreation? Yes, Jack confirmed. We call them sports, games, puzzles, activities that test our abilities. Fascinating, the entity swirled excitedly within its containment field. Most species avoid unnecessary exertion. And is it accurate, inquired a luminescent aquatic being suspended in a hovering tank, that humans form emotional attachments to mechanical devices? Mac, overhearing, laughed. You should see my relationship with my old motorcycle. They name their vehicles, the aquatic being bubbled to its companion. Just as the xenopsychology papers suggested, Clixie scuttled up, mandibles clicking rapidly, the insectoid equivalent of barely contained excitement. Commander, the Galactic Information Network is buzzing with updated human analysis. Your species has been reclassified from unpredictably dangerous to constructively persistent. It's the fastest threat level reduction in Council history. I wasn't aware we had a threat level in the first place, Jack noted dryly. Oh, all species do, Clixie assured him. Most newcomers start at unknown hazard and work their way to manageable risk over several cycles. You've skipped 3 classification levels. All because Jack got annoyed at the right moment, Dina mused. Not just annoyed, Clixie corrected. Actually annoyed. There's an entire linguistic analysis paper being prepared on the human use of intensifiers as warning signals. The Hasnar commander approached their group, moving with the deliberate grace of a predator confidently at the top of the food chain. Commander Reynolds, it rumbled respectfully. The Hasnar Dominion wishes to propose a military exchange program with Earth. Military exchange, Jack raised an eyebrow. Yes, our warriors wish to learn the human technique of controlled escalation. In return we offer training in 17 forms of close combat. Jack caught Dina's warning look. That's an interesting proposal, Commander. Perhaps we should discuss potential cultural and scientific exchanges first. As you wish, the Hasnar inclined its massive head. Though I must inform you that 3 other species have already submitted formal requests to study human problem-solving methodologies. Ambassador Gornthal glided into their conversation circle. Which is why the Council has approved an unprecedented proposal, a human understanding initiative, with dedicated resources to facilitate mutual comprehension. You want to study us, Mac translated, and learn from you, Gornthal amended, as equals. Jack considered the proposal. I think cultural exchange would benefit everyone. But I'd like to clarify something important. Humanity isn't some unstoppable force when we get annoyed. We're just persistent, a distinction without a difference to many species, the Hasnar commander observed. Perhaps what makes humans unique, Clixie suggested, is not that you overcome obstacles, but that you expect to. Most species see insurmountable problems and accept them. Humans see the same problems and get annoyed. Jack couldn't help but laugh at the accuracy of that assessment. When you put it that way, I suppose our stubbornness could seem almost supernatural from an outside perspective. Which reminds me, Gornthal said suddenly hesitant. The Council has one additional request. Yes, we've updated emergency protocols for human emotional states. We now recognize the following escalation levels: mildly irritated, quite annoyed, very annoyed, actually annoyed. And the ambassador's voice dropped to a nervous whisper, really annoyed. Now, Mac nearly choked on his drink. You have emergency protocols for when we say we're really annoyed now. Theoretical protocols, Gornthal clarified. Based on computational models extrapolating from the actually annoyed threshold. The simulations suggest a really annoyed, now human might be capable of. The ambassador shuddered visibly. Administrative restructuring. Administrative restructuring, Dina echoed, confused. Eliminating bureaucratic obstacles through direct action, Clixie explained. The ultimate nightmare scenario for Vuldurians. Jack managed to keep a straight face. I assure you, Ambassador, that humanity has no intention of restructuring the Galactic Council's administration. Most reassuring, Gornthal said, though it didn't sound entirely convinced. As a preventative measure, all human requests will now be processed through an expedited system. As the reception continued, Jack found a quiet moment with his crew. Well, he said, this isn't exactly how I expected our first diplomatic mission to go. You mean you didn't plan to terrify an entire station by getting annoyed? Mac asked innocently. I think it's worked out rather well, Dina observed. We've established diplomatic relations, gained respect, and somehow convinced everyone that humans are reasonable unless provoked by excessive paperwork. Which isn't entirely inaccurate, Jack admitted. Clixie scuttled up to join them. I've been authorized to inform you that your ship has been completely repaired, with several unauthorized upgrades courtesy of fascinated Vuldurian engineers. Upgrades? Jack raised an eyebrow. Nothing that violates the technology exchange protocols, Clixie assured him. Just improvements to your comfort systems, and reinforced bulkheads, and enhanced life support redundancies. They're making sure we stay comfortable, Mac realized with a laugh, to prevent future annoyance. Precisely. Clixie's antennae twitched in what they now recognized as amusement. The official designation for these modifications is human temperament stabilization measures. Jack shook his head, smiling. I suppose there are worse reputations to have in the galaxy than being known for persistence. Oh, absolutely, Clixie chittered. The Vres are known for digesting their diplomatic partners when negotiations fail. The Norlians are infamous for communicating exclusively through interpretive movement that causes motion sickness in 82% of species. Being known as alarming but effective when annoyed is quite positive by comparison. As they prepared to depart the reception, Ambassador Gornthal approached them one final time, holding what appeared to be an official document. Commander Reynolds, the Council has prepared a formal apology for the misunderstandings during your arrival. All necessary signatures have been obtained, a process that would normally take 3 cycles completed in 6 hours. Thank you, Ambassador. Jack accepted the document. I appreciate the gesture. Additionally, Gornthal continued, we have established a new galactic protocol, unanimously approved by all council members. What protocol is that? Gornthal's 3 eyes blinked in solemn sequence. When a human says they're actually getting annoyed, everybody runs. Later, as the reasonable discussion prepared to depart Nexus Station with new diplomatic credentials and the foundation for Earth's integration into the galactic community, Jack stood on the bridge, reviewing their mission. Overall assessment, Captain, Lysa inquired. Jack smiled. Mission successful if unconventional. It seems humanity has found its place in the galaxy, not through force or technology, but through sheer stubborn persistence. And the strategic application of annoyance, Mac added from his station. A diplomatic technique I hope we won't need to employ regularly. Jack noted dryly. As the ship disengaged from the docking clamps, a final message came through from Clixie: safe travels, humans. The Xenopsychology Department has just approved funding for a century-long study titled From Annoyance to Achievement, Understanding the Human Persistence Engine. You've given us much to think about. Jack smiled as he sent a simple reply. Glad to be of service. Though if you make us fill out too many forms during the study, we might get annoyed. The message was met with 17 simultaneous emergency acknowledgements. I think, Jack said as they set course for Earth, this is the beginning of a beautiful if slightly neurotic friendship with the galaxy. Just wait until they discover what happens when humans get hangry, Max suggested. Jack winced. One terrifying human trait at a time, please. The galaxy isn't ready for that level of human unpredictability just yet. As Nexus Station receded in the view screen, a new protocol was being added to the Galactic Council's emergency response system, one that would remain in place for centuries to come. Protocol H7, when humans express annoyance, address their concerns immediately. Subsection A, when humans declare themselves actually annoyed, evacuate. Subsection B, if a human ever says they're really annoyed now, may the cosmic forces have mercy on us all.